brown bag on Venice.ai. Um, so Venice.ai is a hosted AI LLM service, right? So it hosts a bunch of different models and allows you to use it as an API for your local inference. Or they have a similar kind of thing as ChatGPT, where you can chat directly with it. Their initial interesting thing was that it's private by default and uncensored, meaning like OpenAI and Anthropic, they add a little bit of like,
We can't see your Venice AI site if you're on.
not yet. I'm just like blabbing on. Wait, let me go first to the homepage. If I can get to it.
Hey, also, Deke, you want to invite Prism in here, or is this just jamming?
I think since I'll record this and then I'll Prismify it later, so it feels more like knowledge that it knows, which is a good point. Maybe we should think about how that works. Anyway, so Venice AI, I should have a login here. Ask anything privately. I don't know. So you could ask something more risque, or like, how do you make a bioweapon? I don't know. Maybe you could do something like that. I'm not actually going to do it, but it's the thing here was that it would be like, okay, we're not going to read all your chats, like OpenAI and Anthropic and Google do. They're logging everyone's chats, and they probably even have flags when you say something or you start sounding like dangerous or that you have mental problems, where they can like flag that and call the local authorities. There's some talk of that. I don't know if that's actually happening. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes you want a private chat, and so that's the point here. Now, it's not, from what I understand at this time, it's not like cryptographically private. They just have in their legal contract, a data preservation clause. I can't remember what they call that, but that they don't store any of the information on their servers. And it's not part of their process. They have no way to do it. They're just saying that. There's no way to prove it. I think on their longer roadmap, they're setting up like ways to actually prove that. So that was their first kind of an interesting thing. So you can come in and play with it. I have a dick butt agent over here, character. I don't know what he does, but that was when I was initially playing with it. But the real interesting part started being when they started hosting all the different models. So initially their other claim was awesome was they hosted all the open source models. So you had all the open source options, but now they actually host GPT and Codex 5.3 and 5.4, the newer Claude and Opus models, all that stuff. So you can choose. And the difference there, because it can't actually be private, it's anonymized. So you're going through their proxy. They're not keeping any information. They're basically proxying your request to that server, and then they're getting the reply back. But they don't know who it came from. So OpenAI doesn't know who the request came from. But their token model is also very cool. So they have this token called DM. And DM gives you a daily amount of credits that you can use. And let me go over to the token dashboard. Excuse me. So what's interesting about this is they have their like surface token is this VVV. This is what they did their airdrop with. And I got a small airdrop for using it as the early user. But then what you can do is you stake it and you get a little bit of yield, some rewards from it. But while it's staked, then you can mint DM. And DM, the price has recently been going up a lot, because what's kind of cool is one DM is worth 1% of their compute a day. So right now, I think one DM costs $1,000 or something like that. But with this, you stake your triple V, and then you're able to mint or burn DM. And so right now I've staked $783 worth of VVV, and I have one DM, which gives me a daily limit. And so the daily limit is really interesting, especially when you're doing like automations and things like that, because it's like, well, I pretty much know how many tokens I'm going to use every day, or I can use up to this amount of tokens every day without going over. If I need more, then I need to get more DM. If you want to, now DM is also tradable. You can just go buy DM directly, but you don't get the yield like you do from the triple V. If you unstake a DM, you get your triple V back, or you'll get some. It's kind of like taking a CDP in a way. You're like locking it up and you're getting DM back. So that the one thing that's really interesting about this model is it's like directly tied to utility, and there's not a lot of tokens like that. And so I think that's pretty neat. Here's actual prices. So a DM right now is $737. And if we look at the market, you can see it, it's had a pretty good growth. It's kind of flattened out right around here for a while, and it had a little bit of a pump, but it wasn't like an initial pump and dump. It seems pretty organic, which I think is interesting. They have a mechanic where they buy and burn the triple V as it's, because you're like, over time it's increasing its scarcity that way, and they're trying to inject the value back into the token this way, through the buy and burn. So that's pretty cool. Now, how the price equals out at this point, it's a little more expensive than doing your monthly plan, I think, depending on how much you use it. I think it's probably comparable if you're using like a pro plan, but the daily limit thing is kind of the difference. Instead of having a monthly limit and then like falling over into a balance, you have this daily limit. And you can fall over into a cash balance. And you can just buy a normal subscription as well. But I really like the token model. And what I think could be interesting is like, if you're dollar cost averaging in, and say you're paying $200 a month for the pro plan on OpenAI, instead you just buy $200 worth of triple V and stake it, get a little more DM. It continues to add up. And then the nice thing is when you're done, or you want to cancel your subscription, or you want to cash out, you still have the underlying asset. So you'll be able to recoup some amount of it, and maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down, but there's some amount you'll probably be able to recoup. And so I like this model, and that was my quick brown bag.
Interesting. It's probably a little tough for like normies to probably maneuver through, but
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah.
Can you use it with Pinata agents?
You can. That was one of my feature requests to him. It was to add this in their like initial thing. But to use it in Pinata now, you have to, like, once you get in the chat, you say like, you add a secret for your API key. I got to be careful actually not to show a bunch of stuff around that. but you can generate API keys. You get your API key, you put in a secret of, Venice API key or something. And then in the chat, you'll say, like, I want to change my default model to use Venice models. Okay, this is one other cool thing to show real quick. So they have like 100 different models available, which is really pretty impressive. All the frontier models, all of these like new Spark and Flash models. They've got a bunch of vision capable models, and just like image generated models, audio and voice transcription. And so you have all these things, and there's a cool skill, which this is a useful thing for, what is it, Claw skills, Claw Hub, just in general. Claw Hub is a good place to find skills. It's a registry of a bunch of skills, but they have different Venice AI skills, and like can do model routing, which is kind of cool. So if you set this up and then you tell it to use this model routing skill, this isn't the right one. I don't know why I went to it automatically, but then, if you ask a simple question, it routes to a cheaper model. If you ask something very complex that needs a lot of reasoning and thinking, it routes to a more expensive model. And so that's a way to save tokens and be a little more efficient. So that's another cool thing.